3, 2, 1. So tell us about some of your gadgets here.
All right. So this is a little handy tool that, like, if your hands are busy with other recording equipment, you can just clip it on and like focus the light. I think it's really important to have the right tools for the job. And so this is really handy. It's kind of like a Girl Scout tool. Like, you can always have it in your belt and just have it ready to go.
How does that help with the ghost hunting?
Well, so it helps with the ghost hunting because often you're in small enclosed spaces. Like, one time Jax put me in like a cellar closet for like an hour, and she said, just wait until you hear something. And I was like, Jax, I'm scared. But she was like, Liz, you gotta be brave. And she was right. But I had this, and you know, I had forgotten I had it because it's so small and nice. So it's just good to be prepared whenever you're hunting, you know, the unknown, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So
how did you keep yourself entertained in the cellar closet for?
Yeah, like, so when we're on those long missions, when we're trying to record something and no noise is coming out, or you know, like we're not getting any EVPs, we just have to be patient. So often I think about my favorite Gilmore Girl episodes and like the dialogue from that, because it makes me laugh. They're really funny, even though they talk really fast. So sometimes I have to rewind. So, you know, I just think about the plot lines and how they apply to my life. You know, it's a good, I know some people like to do meditation, but my mind's like always going, always going. So the way I meditate is by thinking about Gilmore Girls. So.
Are you a Rory or a Lorelai?
I think I'm more of a Rory. Like, I'm pretty chill and, you know, analytical. So I think that accurately describes my personality. So these are really handy, like both of these, just because you never know what kind of technology you're gonna run into. Like, where's my microphone?
Have you ever strangled a ghost with that?
Oh my God, no. So I've never strangled a ghost with this or anything, because I've never had a corporeal experience. Like, they've always been ethereal. And so they just like, I've never been pushed. What that means? I've never been like slapped around by a ghost. Like, Jax can tell you some really interesting stories about that. One time she came to work and she had a black eye, and we're like, Jax, what happened? Because we were really worried. At the time she was seeing this dude and none of us thought much of him. I really shouldn't tell you. Don't tell her I told you that. I didn't say that. Anyway, so she had a black eye and we were like, what happened? And she's like, I was taking the train and, you know, I was just walking along the platform and a ghost smacked me in the face. I was like, oh my God. Like, I've never experienced something like that.
Didn't they find her boyfriend dead a few days later?
So they didn't find her boyfriend dead. Well, actually, okay, let me rephrase that. They did find her boyfriend dead. We took all her equipment to her apartment to hear if he had any like last messages. And the messages that we got, it was so weird. On the wall was written, don't look any further into this. Don't worry about it. Like, it was so clear that like, it was just a clean end for him. He was like, let me just leave this message to let you know everything's fine. There's nothing more to investigate here. And so, you know, Jax showed us the door and said, don't, you know, it's obvious. Like, I'm feeling like this, he had good closure and we shouldn't go any further into it. So that was crazy. But,
did they ever find his hands and penis?
They did find body parts near her apartment. And, you know, the only thing we can think of is that, you know, Jax told us he probably passed in his sleep, like peacefully. But I think what he did after death is scattered some of his corporeal form around the apartment, kind of as a protective seal. That's what Jax told us. She was like, this is how the dead create a barrier for their loved ones. And again, that he left that message and we should not look into it. It was his dying wishes. He's, you know, in the afterlife right now, and we shouldn't disturb him. Yeah. So, you never know when you're gonna run into some, like, antique equipment. One time, we went into this girl's house, and she had this really old Mac computer. Like, the kind that, it was, like, green plastic, and, like, it was a really big CRT monitor. And so this came really in handy because I was able to just, you know, plug this into her computer. That's why, like I said, it's always good to be prepared when you're on a ghost hunting adventure, you know, a ghost getting adventure. I think a Polaroid, you know, it's out, people might think it's outdated, but it's the quickest way to capture if something's there. You know how there's like an old saying that people used to be afraid that you would capture their soul, like take a little bit of their soul anytime you took a picture? That is true with analog technology. Like a little bit of your, you know, otherworldly self is captured here. And so that's why it's the best way to, in a haunted space, capture someone.
Have you?
Well, one time I was in the basement of this old hotel in Denver. You know, you can go back and find that episode. And we were walking around and we heard, you know, some interesting noises, but we believe in science. You know, we're all about proof and evidence. And so I was like, well, it could have been some creaky floorboards or something like that. But then I took a picture of myself in the mirror with this Polaroid, and there was totally some like lights behind me. And they weren't like, I mean, Danica said it was other people's flashlights. I know what a flashlight looks like. It was not. It wasn't a flashlight.
What's the most interesting thing your technology has picked up or proven?
The most interesting thing that I've been able to prove or give evidence of with this tech is, hang on, let me think about that one.
Sure. No problem. Talk
There's
about the witch flashlight.
Witch? Oh, yeah. So one time we were on a hunt up in Washington State, and we were in the forest. And I mean, anytime you're in a forest, haunted or not, it's a little spooky because there's all these tall trees, and it always reminds me of the Wizard of Oz where like the trees grab them. So don't tell Jax that that's a phobia of mine because she likes to mess with people. But yeah, I'm afraid of trees grabbing me. Anyway, so I use this flashlight, which the benefit of this one over like this tiny one, great to have to be prepared, but you can hit someone with this if, you know, that ghost has taken a corporeal form. So Chad and I were walking along, and, you know, it was all fine, like a little spooky or whatever, but then I felt something grab my ass. Like, it was like, I don't know, it was more of a slap, a little pat, I don't know. But I just whipped around and like, I accidentally hit Chet with this, but I think it also scared off the ghost that was, you know, trying to, you know, like interact with me in a way that I didn't want to be interacted with. It's a good way to tell a ghost, hey, you know, no means no. So that's what this is for. It's just a good, you never know what's going to happen. Like, if you go to a site where there's a lot of ectoplasm, that means there's a really strong presence. And so it's much more likely, it's much more likely that ghost could take corporeal form. Like I said, I haven't really interacted with a corporeal ghost before, but I've definitely felt things, you know?
Why do you have the Mary statue? I've noticed you always have that with you.
Yeah. So, like I said, my parents were really strict, and we were raised Catholic. And one time, I told my mom, I'm like, you know, I feel something weird in my room. And she's like, no, you don't. Don't worry about it. But I'm like, look, Mom, I feel some kind of weird presence. And so she said, put Mary next to your bed and Mary will keep things out of your bed. And I was like, you know, say what you want about Catholicism, but it's been around a long time. And so they have interesting artifacts, and one might call it voodoo, but I mean, I wouldn't. I would call it Catholicism. That, you know, statues and relics have their own power to protect you. So that's why I always keep Mary nearby. Like, it's kind of a reminder of my roots, and also I think she drives evil spirits away. So she's not really technology, unless you want to say like she's religious technology.
Do you think that's why you've never seen a ghost in corporeal form?
Yeah, I think, you know, she's a blessing and a curse to have around, because I haven't been injured. I haven't encountered a ghost that's taken corporeal form. So it's good, but sometimes I wish that I was brave enough, like Jax, to get the evidence that's obviously out there.
Marshals, give us money.